Canyons by UTMB takes place this weekend, with 100 mile, 100k and 50k races taking place and giving the top 10 finishers for each distance guaranteed entry into the equivalent UTMB race. That's UTMB, CCC and OCC. But I won't be previewing the 100 mile or the 50k, it's the 100k that I'm interested in, and for one reason. It's the final Western States Golden Ticket race of the season. I've mentioned it before and I'll be previewing it in more detail closer to the time, but if you didn't know, Western States is the biggest ultra in the US and it's up there with UTMB as one of the most prestigious races in the world. Where it differs is its size, as Western States is limited to around 300 participants. That means for elites and for us mere mortals it's incredibly hard to get in. The elite field is made up of around 50 runners in total, including the returning top 10 in both the men's and women's races from the previous year, a few sponsor slots, and then 28 golden ticket entries for those looking to race their way in, awarded to the top 2 male and female finishers in the selected races. Which brings us back to the Canyons 100k, which is the final chance for anyone planning their season around Western States to compete for their chance to toe the line. Before we jump into the Canyons contenders though, I thought this would be a good opportunity to recap the golden tickets that have already been secured. UTMB is the first golden ticket race each year, and personally I'm not really sure why, as no one is entering UTMB with the goal of racing for a golden ticket. It's more of a nice little bonus prize. I get that they want to offer Europeans the chance to qualify, but maybe offering golden tickets at Trans Gran Canaria or Madeira Ultra Trail would be the better option. Case in point is that UTMB is where we see the most golden ticket roll down. Men's winner Kylian Jornet declined this year, giving third place Tom Evans the opportunity, and on the women's side, Marianne Hogan's ticket, who is already qualified as a returning top 10 runner, rolled down as far as 5th after a couple of declines, giving the spot to Esther Sillag. Then it's stateside for the Javelina 100. If this race was closer, I'd say that given it's a fast desert race, it would be a pretty good indicator of how runners may fare at Western States. But being 8 months prior means the form of these 4 qualifiers could be considerably different now. Also, Javelina is the flattest of all the qualifiers, and Western States, whilst being known as a runnable 100 miler, actually features quite a bit of brutal climbing. UTMB Thailand, much like UTMB itself, is an incredibly difficult 100 miler with over 10,000 metres of elevation gain. So again, it seems like the sort of race you build your season around rather than using it to race for a golden ticket, although surprisingly no roll down this year, with all the top finishers all accepting. The Bandera 100k is up next, and this year the obvious talking point is that big favourite Courtney Dauwalter raced her way back to Western States by smashing the course record here. If you want to hear more about Courtney Dauwalter's incredible recent form, please check out my last video. Then it's over to New Zealand for the Tarawera 102k. As you can see, these golden ticket races really do offer the chance to runners from all over the planet to race their way in. This year featured a very competitive women's race with Nancy Zhang and Stephanie Austin securing the tickets. There was some roll down on the men's side here, with second place Hayden Hawks already in via his Western States second place, so third place Ryan Montgomery got his hands on the ticket. Next up it's Black Canyon, a race that must now be considered one of the most competitive races in the US. This year we had an insanely deep field, including, on the men's side, a host of sub-220 marathoners, and in the women's field we had an Ironman World Championship medalist, an Olympic Trials marathoner, and a former Western States winner. Both second place finishers, Tom Evans and Heather Jackson, were already qualified, so we have both third place finishers accept the tickets. Needless to say, given the depth and quality of Black Canyons, all 4 ticket holders here are ones to watch at Western States. So then finally we have Canyons, a race that usually runs the opposite direction on the Western States course, and only a couple of months out, meaning it's a pretty good test run for the big dance, as we saw last year when Adam Peterman qualified and then went on to win Western States. Worth mentioning that this year there's been some course changes due to heavy snowfall I believe, and the new course looks quite a bit flatter, so expect some fast times similar to Black Canyon, meaning it will also be quite hard to judge any times or performances relative to previous years. Let's get to the contenders then. Firstly, much like any golden ticket race, the field is littered with talent, and there'll almost certainly be a random local shredder who pops up near the front that we've never heard of. So let me know in the comments if there's anyone I need to be keeping an eye on, but for now I'll just talk about a select few that you should be following. Ida Nilsson is a world mountain running silver medalist for the 80k distance and is also a third place finisher at CCC, along with a whole host of other wins and podiums at incredibly tough European mountain races. She's also very good at the flatter, faster races and narrowly missed out on a golden ticket at Black Canyons after fading in the final third of the race and finishing 5th. Cole Watson is a 2:18 marathoner who also recently just missed out on a ticket at Black Canyons, finishing 4th. But he's a local lad here and knows the trails well, having previously finished 3rd at the Canyons 25k and won the Canyons 50k. He's also been recce in the new course, and a recent training run saw him run nearly the entirety of the 50k course in under 4 hours. His incredible speed and his knowledge of the course make him the one to beat this year, and I for one am tipping him for the win. Adam Merry will have something to say about that though. He's on a hot streak and followed up a fantastic 2022 with a win at Chuckanut. It's been a few years since he's raced this distance, but he seems like an athlete that's ready to have a big breakout performance, much like Adam Peterman did last year, who actually won Chuckanut before taking on Canyons. I've been going back and forth with him and Cole for my fantasy free trail #1 pick, but either way I think we're in for a great battle. In the women's field, pushing Ida all the way will be Addie Bracey. Addie has podiums at Leadville, Way Too Cool and Lake Sonoma, as well as wins at Run Rabbit Run and Speedgo. She's also made it to Western States before and has a top 10 finish. Over the last year she's been very open about her training woes, but returned to action last month with a win over 50k, so hopefully she's towing the line feeling great and ready to push for a ticket. Then there's another incredibly experienced athlete, Camilla Mayfield, who has 4 Western States top 10 finishes to her name, as well as podiums at Javelina and Lake Sonoma. Now, as I said, a random shredder may surprise us, but the results at highly competitive races that these 3 women have put them clear of the rest in my opinion. I can't quite decide how to order Addie and Camilla, but I think I'm pretty confident with predicting Ida for the win. On the men's side, there's also late entrant David Laney, one of the more recognisable names in our sport over the last 7 to 8 years, as he seems to always enter at least 3 to 4 highly competitive races every year. There's numerous wins on his record, including at Bandera, Chuckanut and Gorge Waterfalls, as well as a top 10 Western States finish. He also became the first American male to finish on the podium at UTMB back in 2015. Recently though, his form has been a little hit and miss, and just like Cole, he also raced Black Canyon back in February, finishing 7th, so it'll be interesting whether he'll be able to actually push for a golden ticket, or if he's content to just finish in the top 10 and get a spot back at UTMB. 2 quick mentions, we've got Matt Daniels, training partner of Adam Merry, and also coming off a win at Gorge Waterfalls 50k at the start of the month, one to keep an eye on for sure. And then finally I have to mention fellow Brit Ellis Bland, who back in January finished 2nd at the Arc of Attrition here in the UK, which is one of the toughest 100 milers we have. The Varga Headwear founder is probably on the hunt for a spot at CCC after a disappointing showing there last year, so maybe not one to challenge for a golden ticket, but one for the UK audience to follow with interest. Let me know in the comments your picks for the win and the golden ticket spots. Also in the intro I slightly dismissed the 50k and 100 miler, but they do have some pretty interesting fields and will also be very exciting to watch. I just don't have time to preview those as well. Thank you so much for watching, please do remember to subscribe and I'll be back soon with more ultra running content. Cheers.